Good, good evening to all the learned um, uh, scientists. Today I am going to present my research topic titled Application of Bayesian Latent Class Modeling for Comparison of Various Diagnostic Tests for Zero Diagnosis of Human Leptospirosis. As we all know, leptospirosis, it is a spirochetal zoonotic disease, and the main clinical manifestations associated with leptospirosis is pyrexia, jaundice, cephalgia, myalgia, conjunctival suffusions, epistasis, hemoptysis, and hemorrhagic pneumonitis. So leptospirosis with this wide varied clinical manifestations, it is termed as mysterious mimic by clinicians because it mimics a large number of disease processes. So this makes laboratory diagnosis mandatory for this disease, especially in areas where there is high incidence of other diseases with similar clinical picture. For example, rickettsial diseases, then dengue, they also show some of the same clinical picture. So because of that, laboratory diagnosis is mandatory for leptospirosis. So coming to microscopic agglutination test, this is the gold standard test for detection of leptospirosis. And the WHO, World Health Organization definition for a serologically confirmed case of leptospirosis is a fourfold rise in MAT titer for one or more leptospiral serohor between acute phase and convalescent serum specimens. So even though MAT is considered as the gold standard test for leptospirosis, there are various drawbacks associated with MAT. For example, MAT requires several leptospiral serohors in the active growth phase, whose maintenance is difficult, expensive, tedious, and time consuming. And since live leptospiral serohors are used, there is a danger of acquiring the infection to lab technicians. Then the cumbersome method of recording the results, then the need for paired serum samples. I told acute serum and convalescent serum, which convalescent serum that is collected 3 weeks apart of the acute serum sample. So it delays disease diagnosis. Then MAT can give false negative test results, especially in the early stage of the disease or when the patient is infected with a rare serohor, which is not included in the test. So before going to detail, I will explain two terminologies: single acute MAT and final MAT. Okay, actually in the low middle income countries such as India, patients, especially the low middle income daily wage workers who are forced to live from hand to mouth, they never show for convalescent serum collection. They only come for the first time, and once they get relief after symptoms, after the administration of antibiotics, they don't come to show up for convalescent serum sample collection. Okay, so we have devised a novel strategy of classifying MAT results into two separate categories. First is the single acute MAT, and second is the final MAT. Actually, single acute MAT by definition is a single serum collected in which the MAT titer is 1:400. While final MAT includes both the single acute MAT and paired MAT. Paired MAT means suppose at acute phase of infection, the person is having 1:40 titer. So if there is a fourfold rise, that is 1:160, he is declared positive. Or it should be in the convalescent sera, there should be 1:100 titer, while in this first collection it should be negative. So so we are using this new strategy. So in this study we separately compared the diagnostic accuracies of both acute MAT and final MAT with 2 point of care diagnostics for low resource settings. The first point of care diagnostic which we are using is IgM DEDT, that is dot ELISA in dipstick test format, and other is the latex agglutination test. So two tests we are comparing with the single acute MAT and final MAT separate. Okay, so we have used 340 serum samples for this study, out of which 170 from Odisha, 100 from Uttar Pradesh, and 70 from Karnataka. And in this study, we found that Odisha has the highest sero prevalence for leptospirosis from the 3 different states of India, at 21.76%. And it is no wonder that Odisha is having the maximum sero wars. Why? Because Odisha is ravaged by cyclones, and cyclones and incidence of leptospirosis, there is an intricate connection. Okay. Now coming to actually we have developed a recombinant protein known as LIG-A-bar-B protein in our laboratory. This recombinant protein, I have shown the SDS page, and here it is showing a 51 kDa band, and in Western blot also it is giving very good immunoreactivity with high titrated human serum samples using 4-chloro-1-naphthol and diaminobenzidine. Then this is the recombinant LIG-A-bar-B IgM dot ELISA dipstick test which we have developed in our laboratory. The blue dots represent positive. The A to F are positive field serum samples, G is the positive control, and H is the negative control. The latex agglutination test which we have developed in-house in our laboratory, I have shown here. Here panel A represents negative sera showing homogeneous suspension, while the panel B represents lat positive serum sample which is showing agglutination. And panel C shows lat2 positive serum sample showing very good agglutination, and panel D represents the serum sample which is lat3 positive. The moment you add sensitized latex beads containing recombinant protein, you get agglutination, beautiful agglutination. Now I am going to tell about the single acute MAT. Single acute MAT, when compared with the dipstick, there were 51 serum samples out of 340 serum samples were reported. While for total MAT, this figure jumped from 51 to 63, indicating that total MAT is better than the single acute MAT. Similarly, for latex agglutination test, the single acute MAT and latex agglutination test, there were 51 serum samples which were positive. That figure jumped up to 60 when we did with the total MAT. So for acute MAT, we have considered it as the gold standard, as well as we have analyzed it using Bayesian latent class modeling. Bayesian latent class modeling, in Bayesian latent class modeling, we never consider any test as gold standard. We consider that all the tests are imperfect, whether it is acute MAT, total MAT, dipstick test, or latex agglutination test. So for acute MAT, using Bayesian latent class analysis, we got a sensitivity of only 83.3%. When we compared the total MAT, that is acute MAT plus paired MAT, we got a sensitivity of 98.2%. That shows that there is a increase from 83.3% to 98.2%. Roughly around 15% increase in sensitivity between acute MAT and total MAT. That shows that the total MAT is far better than the single acute MAT. Coming to the conclusion, Bayesian latent class modeling showed that the MAT has a poor sensitivity, especially when performed in the early phase of infection. That is, the single acute MAT is having less sensitivity. However, the use of both acute and convalescent serum samples substantially increased the sensitivity of MAT. Then the novel strategy of classifying the MAT results into single acute MAT and final MAT, that is paired plus acute MAT, helped to circumvent the problems associated with patients who failed to provide convalescent serum once they obtain relief from symptoms following the administration of antibiotics. In order to change the testing method practices to newer platform, both IgM, DEDT and latex agglutination test should be employed as rapid primary screening test for detecting the various stages of leptospirosis. MAT can be employed as a confirmatory test for recognizing the epidemiology of infecting zeroids and suspected environmental and animal reservoirs in endemic regions. That means our laboratory developed IgM, DEDT and latex agglutination test. They can be used as rapid primary screening tests, while MAT can be employed as a confirmatory test for recognizing the epidemiology of the infecting zeroids. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabinath, for your wonderful presentation and a good topic. So please share your email address and details out here in the chat box. Your field, basically, we couldn't. Which field are you from, sir?
I am from veterinary microbiology.
Okay, okay, wonderful.
But we have done human leptospirosis under the One Health umbrella.
Okay.
So based on One Health, we can work on the human side also. So we have got a collaboration with the human side also. With ICMR scientists, we are collaborating.
Wonderful, good to hear, sir. Nice work, research work. Actually, we'll be in touch, and maybe some analysis data. We have IT people out here, a few of them maybe. You can do some data analytics and other research support. We can take it up to the next level if you have more samples and more research works also in the coming days, and make it automation. Make it automate actually the complete process once we get more data.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. We'll see. We'll be in touch. Please share your email address. We'll go ahead.
Okay. I will share in the chat box.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and call the next presenter.
Yes. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rafi Ibrahim. I am working as a lecturer at the Department of Economics at IRAJ University. So my research topic, I'm just going to share my slide, is basically in the field of financial economics, and the topic is impact of capital controls on foreign direct investment, which is a cross-section pattern analysis. Basically, I have 96 developing countries in my data, and I'm trying to see how the capital controls are affecting the foreign investment inflow, particularly in the developing countries. The main objective of my paper is to look at the impact of restrictive capital control policies on the foreign direct investment, and I have chosen the period from 2000 till 2019. The results of this study suggest that during this period of time, the capital control variables were very much beneficial in controlling the flow of foreign investment. Additionally, this result also suggests that there are a heterogeneity across regions. So some of the regions experience better flow of foreign investment than the others, despite having the same kind of capital control policy. So I'll just quickly give you a glimpse of my background, where this initiated from. So basically, there was an enormous debate regarding the two impact of capital control policies over the foreign direct investment for a large period of time. And however, there were a lot of doubt regarding the true impact, because according to theory, capital liberalization should be beneficial rather than controlling it in order to increase the flow of foreign investment. On the other hand, the practicality is something different. So the evidence actually suggests that the countries who followed capital open policies are the ones who experienced financial crises like the ones we had in 2000, 2007, 2006, the global financial crisis. All of this was partly because of this open capital regime that were followed by these countries. So the question then arises that, is liberalization worth the risk, whether we should be letting capital flow freely or we should control it. So, and that is our main objective for this paper and the study. Along with that, we have also studied the regional impact of capital control over foreign direct investment. And my study, my sample actually includes 4 different regions, which are Sub-Saharan African countries, Latin American and Caribbean countries, the Middle Eastern countries, and the East Asia and Pacific. The data ranges from 2000 to 2019. So basically, I have chosen this data to facilitate study, as most of the countries started taking capital control policies after 2000 and onwards. So that is why I have chosen to stick my study period from 2000 till 2019. I would say that was the period till the data was available as well. The dependent variable, since we are looking at the impact on the foreign direct investment, so the dependent variable is the FDI inflow, which is accounted as the total net foreign direct investment inflow as a percentage of GDP. And the independent variables are basically the capital control variables. So I have included 3 capital control variables. The first one is the restriction on repatriation requirement. So basically, this is the restriction that is imposed on capital when they are repatriated back to the domestic country. Similarly, the second restriction is the personal capital transaction. Basically, these are the restrictions that are put on the personal capital. So basically, when a foreign investor invests in a foreign country, then he has to take back his money, or he has to take back his profit to his own country. So in order to do that, they need a personal capital transaction account. So restricting these account basically limits the amount of currency, foreign currency, they can repatriate to their domestic market. The third one is the restriction that is imposed on the liquidation of foreign investment. Basically, when an investor tries to put his profit in terms of money or in terms of capital, then these restrictions kind of limit the possibility of so doing. In addition to these 3 types of capital controls, I have also included some of the traditional determinants of FDI. For instance, I have accounted for the GDP, then the number of telephone lines per subscriptions. I have also included some of the infrastructural indicators which capture the impact of these economic variables on foreign direct investment. So basically, I have accounted for both the controls, but at the same time, I have also given some scope to the traditional economic determinants, which also influence the flow of foreign investment. So moving on to the results directly. So before that, we need to see the model and estimation method. So I have used a generalized methods of momentum methodology. That is a very common methodology in economics that we use for analyzing dynamic models. So here, since foreign investments are dynamic because it is a lengthy process. It takes a lot of time. That is why a GMM model is much suitable in this particular case. So as you can see in the screen, I have estimated two models. The first one is the original model, which includes the control variables for the countries. Remember, I have 96 developing countries, so this is the country-specific effect. The first term is capturing the time-specific effect. The third one here is capturing the foreign investment in the last period. So basically, the foreign investment at present is highly dependent on what has been invested in the past period. The fourth component is basically our main objective, the main most important component, which is the capital control variables. And this is where we measure how these controls are affecting the foreign investments. Lastly, we also have a vector of the economic variables, namely the GDP per capita or the telephone lines, then the amount of trade a country does. All of these control variables are basically captured through this term. And lastly, we have a error term which captures all the residual that are not countable within the model. Just like that, we also estimate the second model. So in the second model, it is exactly the same as the first model, just there is a difference in this term, which captures the region-specific effect of capital controls over the foreign investment. So basically, as I have shown earlier, I have included 4 regions. So how are these regions getting affected in terms of capital controls and foreign investment is what is measured through this model. So basically, when I am moving towards the results, you shall see 2 different findings because the first one is for this and the second one is for the second equation. Now let's look at the results. So basically, as I have mentioned, it is divided into 3 parts. The baseline results basically measure how the economic indicators are affecting the foreign investment, which doesn't include the capital control variable. The second one will be including the capital control variables and see how they are affecting the FDI. And the last one will be regional dummies to capture region-specific effect. Okay. So as you can, I hope you can see the table, which actually shows the impact of capital control on FDI. As you can see, FDI is my dependent variable, and on the first and the second column, you shall see that the variables, the first case, all are significant. So basically, the GDP, then the amount of trade, then the telephone line numbers, etc., are a positive determinant of foreign investment. So they are kind of helpful if a country is trying to attract FDI. The second column here represents the inclusion of capital controls with this indicator variables. And here, as you can see, that each of the control variables that I have just mentioned earlier is positively affecting the foreign investment because the stars represent their statistical significance. So since the sign is positive for each of these 3 variables, which means that the foreign investments are positively related with capital control. So in other words, for instance, if you look at this particular row, then we shall interpret it like if a country has a restriction on export profits, then that country is likely to experience a 7% increase in foreign investment, and which is statistically very much significant. And this goes same for the rest of the 2 other capital control variables. Now, I would like to mention here, there are a list of capital control variables that a country imposes from time to time. However, in my study, I have only included those which were found significant. Next, we look at the region-specific fixed effects, region-specific impact of capital controls on foreign investment. So here, as you can see, I have listed down all the regions here. So starting from Sub-Saharan Asian country at the first, then we have Latin American country, Middle Eastern country, etc. And you shall see for there enormous amount of variation across these regions. So for instance, the Sub-Saharan African countries are basically experiencing a negative relation with capital controls. So capital control will actually reduce their foreign investment, and which will subsequently be a 20% decrease in the flow of foreign investment. However, the capital control variable for the Middle Eastern country is positively related. So it is a positive relation, meaning that the Middle Eastern country, if they have a control over their personal capital, then there would be more foreign investment. So as you can see, comparing these two situations, we see that although both of these two countries are developing countries, but they are affected differently by the fact of capital openness and capital controls. The most surprising fact is to look at the case of Latin America, because none of the capital control variables are actually significant for Latin American countries. Or in other words, we can say that for the Latin American countries, foreign investments do not depend on the capital controls. Rather, there might be other factors, but not the capital controls. So this kind of gives us a glimpse of how the regions of the world are getting affected by the capital control variables for the flow of foreign investment. And this also leaves ample scope for us to prescribe some of the policies that should be taken in order to help the flow of foreign investment. One such policy would be to go for a country-specific policy and come out of the ideology of a one-size-fits-all policy. Because that is,
sorry for interrupting. You have already exceeded 10 minutes, so kindly quickly conclude.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just gonna go through our second policy. That's it. So basically, as we have seen, the regions are differently affected. Another policy would be to erode all kind of imperfections from the economies that the developing countries are facing, and then try to attract more capital foreign flow by indicating more capital policies. I'm just gonna quickly conclude. So basically, in conclusion, we can say that in this particular paper, we have found out that capital liberalization might not be always an appropriate policy for all the countries, because some of them are positively related to some negative. However, under certain circumstances, capital flow regulating measures can depend on the macroeconomic policies that are tailored to countries. And this leaves unquestionably ample space for tailored policy recommendation, and this is also where this paper addresses future scope of study. So with that, I shall conclude my presentation, and if you may have any question, you can ask.
Wonderful work and good research work, actually. Nice to learn from you. A lot of things are there. We will collaborate and look into it. Please share your email ID and details. We will get in touch with you. People who have questions to ask, request you to take it offline. Thank you.
My name is Kavin and Kalai, co-authors of this paper. We're both architects and engineers. We work on a lot of construction projects, and for this study, we have taken a feasibility study of application of digital technologies for collaborative, smart and sustainable urban road management. So we all know that today rapid urbanization is happening across the globe, and we see a lot of urban problems. One critical problem is road, which Indian cities are also facing. So we try to explore and did a field study on the urban road problem, and we found out some of the digital technologies which could be applied to solve this problem. So these are some of the problems you would have seen day to day in your city: complete traffic congestion, and people get delayed. and also leading to a lot of ill health, which you see often in your city. And our study is focused into Bangalore city. What are pictures you see is in Bangalore, the Silicon Valley of India. And this is something which we have taken in the recent flood. So luckily, when we did this paper, we had this unfortunate incident in the month of August, where the entire Bangalore city came to a standstill. And one thing what experts said, so it was something 130 mm rainfall which happened, which is a very nominal rainfall, but the city itself came to standstill for a week. And the experts say that it is because of poor road management and lack of infrastructure for draining the rain. So this says something very serious about the infrastructure management, which is happening in Bangalore, and also it's similar to Chennai and any other place in India. And this you could see a pathetic situation. A doctor ran 3 kilometers to save a patient, which happened last week in Bangalore. And also IT companies in the Outer Ring Road has lost around $28 million in a single day, since people cannot travel and reach offices on time. The 3 to 4 hours delay has triggered almost 220 crores Indian money. So we felt there is something wrong in the way engineers and architects, urban planners planned the infrastructure, but what happens in maintenance and management systems. So this paper focuses on the problem analysis and also finding the solution through digital technology. So in a nutshell, since we have a limited time, I will consolidate my problem statements. So main reason is because of rapid urbanization, we are finding traffic congestion, which leads to higher amount of travel time and higher cost, leading to lower productivity of any employees in an office. And other main reason is the substandard infrastructure. And considering like cities like Bangalore and Chennai, it's very difficult to find out where the damages have happened and how could be repaired and what is the kind of budget I have to do. So it's very unclear for any person or engineer to analysis. And also, if you see, we can see it's as a road infrastructure, but we have multiple departments to work along with. We have water department, we have wastewater management, we have power department. So it's road is not only a highways department or something, which requires a complex governance from various departments. And other major issues you could find is because of health is getting affected because of the road scenarios. And now climate risk has triggered. What the pictures, whatever showed is a recent one which has triggered the entire flooding with less than 130 mm rainfall. Another major problem, what you can see is the social crimes against elderly. And so in a nutshell, if I put this into 4 baskets, one is traffic congestion, mobility and safety, which is one problem. Another is, as an engineers, we face on operation and maintenance issue. For public, it's a health issue and environmental and sustainability issue. From the government perspective, it is in government and management issue. So how can we solve these complex issues? So this is where digital technologies come. So before getting into digital technologies, we need to validate. So we went into the ground and we studied the roads in Bangalore, and also we had feedbacks from various kinds of people, various users and stakeholders. And some people, I'm putting a very small slide to present. Majorly, people said lack of maintenance and poor road design, untimely maintenance. These are something which come. Another thing is that lack of finance, even though I know this is the repair I have to do, but I don't have money to do it. And climate risk, like today's rainfall creating flooding, and those issues were given. And interestingly, if you see, based on our study, we found out that 100 to 150% is based on waiting in traffic signals and in traffic. So even though my travel time is 1 hour, I spend another 1 hour time to waiting in traffic. And in India, typically we have diversified vehicles. So multiple, we have 3-wheelers, 2-wheelers, and even 3 categories into multiple types of vehicle, leading to traffic congestion, and lane discipline is very poor. And also people accepted, if you see 60% of people are suffering from health issues because of air pollution in the roads. And also it leads to accidents. So this slide I kept, this is something analysis which we did with various peoples and we have presented. You can refer to our technical paper for more details. And summarizing the road problems from the people's feedback, one is the lack of lane discipline. And traffic signal, what we have find in Bangalore road does not really replicate the requirements. So some signals timeline was long enough and some were very short enough, but it did not really solve the problem. And poor traffic management from the traffic police, and also construction and maintenance. So they did not understand the type of traffic, and immediately they planned their construction or maintenance works, which becomes a bottleneck. Current metro construction is a major problem in Bangalore. And from climate risk, what we have incurred, there is a lack of forecasting and risk simulations. and also unfriendly public transportation. We recently now metros are being developed, but still public transport is far away from usage. That's why people prefer using their own transport means. So now coming to the question. So once we have analyzed this problem, now we have to take this digital technologies, which is emerging from various manufacturing sectors have adopted digital technologies. And main thing, even in construction, now we are doing 3D modeling for our building constructions and other stuff. So then we thought that, okay, can we, if I break the urban management system, first problem is that visualizing the roads. So how can I visualize a road? So then can we use the 3D models, a static model, which can really show my road systems? And can I collect real-time data? Now we are using mobile phones. We have 5G systems are going to come. So you can really collect actual data, what is happening at roads. So earlier we had historical data. Now I can have real-time data which can focus. So can I collect the real-time data? And can I have artificial intelligence to do the analysis, risk simulation, and dynamically generate the solutions? So main problem in the conservative method is that I have one solution which has been developed 20 years back. And today my city is evolving. I cannot use the original solution, which is good for 20 years back, but I cannot use it right now. So there'll be traffic modeling analysis, which is very dynamic. And many people today, you can see they use Google Maps to reach, and no one knows the address also. You rely on technology to reach a destination or predict what kind of traffic you have. And now, can I have a virtual platform? So users are separate, road users separate, and I have engineers separate, I have governance people separate. So can I bring all these people so that I have a holistic solution? This is what the questions we pose to ourselves. So some of the technologies which we review, recent emerging technologies, is one is the virtual vehicular network, we call VA nets. This is something wireless connectivity systems. So we can establish connections between two vehicles, two cars, by establishing onboard units. It can be a mobile device or a specific device which can be provided by the traffic management people. So I can establish connectivity between two vehicles, and also I can establish connectivity between the infrastructure. Say, for example, if the road is closed, still I can give a feedback, road is closed or road is congested. This gives a feedback to the vehicle, similar to more to Google Maps, which is an interactive platform. And also now we are seeing a lot of smart cities emerging. So I can have a connectivity between vehicle and the central command systems. So any vehicle deviating in the speed, the central command can track overspeeding vehicles and also communicate to the particular vehicle and say you're overspeeding and limit the speed, or they can issue tickets for them. And also advise vehicles to take which route in the emergency. So this kind of scenarios have emerged in VNet systems. And the other interesting technology, what you're seeing is urban sensing. It's more like human-centered. So you can track human beings' movement wherever through mobile devices. So if you see today, Google and Facebook also gives historical suggestions for you based on your movements. Same technology can be used for people movements, and also crowding and other tracking can be happen. So this is called human-centric urban sensing. And the other model is static infrastructure data. So like similarly, as we spoke about the previous, I can collect all the static infra data from the 3D models and extract it and put it in. So by combining these things, I have a dynamic data of the physical attributes, and then I can develop solutions for them. The other interesting technology is already in use. We use this image processing technology already in manufacturing and aerospace engineering. And there is an UK company which has already developed this technology. So the image processing cameras fit in a car. And when the car moves, you can see this is how the data is collected. You can see the lowermost picture shows the potholes, even the minute potholes are captured using the pictures, and see the entire city data is projected. Whatever red points you see are all the damages. So within a day, you have the data about the road infrastructure, what kind of damages. And same thing, data can be used for predicting pedestrian movement, for cycling, vehicular movement, and also traffic and signal planning. So you have multiple data generated in this, and I require another artificial intelligence algorithm to solve these kinds of problems. So image processing and high definition camera is revolutionizing the way we gather data and analyze data. And coming to the interesting part today, because all these technologies are available, and today many people, even our engineers and people, are working on digital twins. So digital twins are augmented reality and virtual reality, which is already used in manufacturing industry, in aerospace and other places, where they real-time simulate the situations and design the systems. So we thought, why can't we use this for an urban situation? And if you think urban roads are really complex and large, and the amount of data which will generate is almost 100 times larger than any manufacturing problem. But still, considering today's cloud computing systems and also big data analytics, artificial intelligence emergence, and also mobile device capabilities, we thought digital twins is going to revolutionize how we perceive urban problems. So here our idea is that we can create three-dimensional models using gaming engines, which is evolving. You could see in Unity and Unreal, which can real-time create an entire city model. That's what happening. So can we create a model of an urban roads, collective urban roads using the gaming engines? And also the same can be used for modeling and simulation after writing a code. So this enables me to whatever data I collect from image processing or urban sensing or from VNets can be fed as in real-time data. And through my codes, I can analyze the problem. And this generates such solution. An interesting part is that it doesn't require one person to generate a solution. So most of the solution actually comes from the users. So digital twins also enables stakeholder collaboration. You can have your user, you can have your governance people, and also engineers to be in one platform and collaboratively work on a solution. So it's something fantastic which is going to open out, and this is going to transform how we do our design. So design something which follows old code will be revolutionized, and we will work on the real-time project and generate real-time solutions. So this is the power of digital twins. So our conclusion is that whatever complex problem we are seeing now, our computation ability has also gone up. And for having like multiple stakeholders, we have administrators and IAS officers from government, and we have technical people like urban planners and engineers from technical department, and also we have traffic experts, police. Multiple people has to collaborate and work to have a successful urban roads. So this enables a platform where instantly they get information and solve dynamically. It's not one-time solution. And also now we could see that high-end computations are possible using quantum computing systems. So by integrating all these quantum computing systems and the information which we gather from this kind of sensing devices, we can develop real-time solutions for this urban road management. So to conclude, digital twins are really fantastic. And also I recommend other technical people to go through digital twins and apply in their own research area. Even though we are from construction, still it's feasible to work on many areas. So finally, a detailed research is possible, and we also recommend to do a detailed research in each area and develop solutions using digital twins. And these are some of the references. Since it's an evolving field, we had very limited references, but still we were able to track some references. And also we thank our company's engineering project woman. Actually, I come from IIT Madras incubated company, and Kala is from an architectural consultant. And also we thank GAST, which is an UK-based company specializing in image processing. Thank you. If you have any questions, we can answer.
Thank you. So please share your email address out there. Wonderful research work out there. Now we can collaborate and see how we can work on these things. So I wanted to know, like, what are the work you're doing out with respect to these digital twin and new technology in your company?
Yeah, so we are actually a project man. I got incubated this company in 2010. So our primary focus is to develop construction technologies, also into project management. So one area where we look is automation and digital technology for construction. So this was something very interesting we saw, because today urban roads is a problem. So we worked out, but there are a lot of problems which needs to be addressed in construction area. You see, construction is more unorganized. So as a part of research, we are also trying to take unorganized sector to organized by converting into a production process. So we are leveraging from production system, taking certain technologies, and from research, we are integrating it and using it. And definitely we like to collaborate with organizations like you. So you would have heard from IIT Madras Research Park, we have developed a lot of companies which are working. And this is also a fantastic forum, and thanks for organizing. Whenever I come to Bangalore, we can have a meeting with you also. We can discuss.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll collaborate. So thank you. Please share your details out there. We'll
definitely. I'll put it in the chat box.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
And
Thanks.
Thank you so very much for giving me the chance to present my paper in this conference. My today's topic, my paper name is Managerial Perspectives on Automation and Human Factors, Evidence from the Bangladeshi Garment Industry. Myself, Pinky Akhtar, I'm a PhD student from Kyushu University, Japan, and basically I'm from Bangladesh. Well, First of all, I talk about automation in Bangladeshi scenario. Automation is a global phenomenon that has started to hit the Bangladeshi RMG sector. Bangladeshi RMG will have no option but to embrace the idea of automation gradually. It will impact their manufacturing pattern, operational style, investment, HR management, supply chain management, compliance, reporting, and all other related aspects of business. It is forecasted that millions of people in this sector will be displaced. Either they'll be unemployed or shifted to other capacities, or it will vibrate the lives of millions and might impact the economy of the whole country. So how the managers are thinking to manage this havoc? I'm trying to get the answers of these questions through my paper. The first research question is, how will job displacement hit this industry? Will it decrease or increase jobs? And what type of workers will be impacted most? How are the Bangladeshi RMGs planning to address this issue of displacement with HR development, training? And the third question is, in the post-displacement context, human factors becomes a burning issue. Are they sincere about human factors, or is compliance the only variable behind considering the human factors, and who is forcing this? These are my today's content: hypothesis development, methodology, and finding and discussion, and after that, conclusion. I have built these 4 hypotheses for my paper. First hypothesis is increasing automation do not seem to cause loss of employment in the aggregate. Number 2, due to automation, low-skilled workers in routine jobs are more likely to suffer job losses. Number 3, training is considered as a vital factor of automation success and conducted by respective organization. And last but not the least, 4, consideration of human factors by the management are pushed by compliance pressure from the international buyer or not by the humanitarian considerations. This is my methodology part. I'm using manual interpretive content analysis in my research, and the instruments is semi-structured interview. All my data are primary qualitative data, and I have using thematic analysis for my research. These are 10 garments companies that I have gone through and like some semi-structured interview I did, and this is my findings and discussion. Automation and displacement. According to the majority of the respondents, initially, automation will displace a lot of workers. However, in the long run, the job opportunity is most likely to increase. Cut-to-pack factories are not impacted much by the automation. Nonetheless, in sweater factories, due to jacquard machines, there could be up to 60 or 70% of the job displacement. To some respondents, automation-bound displacement will not be an issue because of the following reasons. Some of the Bangladeshi RMGs are highly automated and some are running traditional automation. Hence, impacted workers have opportunity to adjust themselves in the factories with lower level automation. And then there is always a 5% shortage in the required level of workers due to worker migration, and fresh workers who can learn new skill can always be adjusted with new technology. Alternatively, automation-related displacement could be intensive because of these issues. Number 1, operators have highly machine-specific skill, and it is utterly difficult to make them learn new skills. Number 2, currently there are a shortage of skill operators, which is predicted to be more acute. Number 3, if all the RMGs of Bangladesh become poised at the same automation footing, backwards adjustment of displaced laborers will be complex. Well, factory owners are primarily concerned with the efficiency of the production facility. Therefore, they are motivated to erect most technologies that can do repetitive works following basic algorithms. Such preference push the jobs to the routine, low-skilled workers under extreme degree of threat. According to the respondent from SP governments, earlier, there used to be 30% helpers along with operators in every production line. But now these days, it is being reduced to 5%. Automation-related trainings. Various types of training exist in the Bangladeshi RMG industry, such as in-house training, training from the erection team, training from local institutions, overseas training, and NGO-sponsored training. The respondents have objectively noted the benefits of training as the respondents from Aman Tech's mentioned. It is possible to increase the output of a garment factory with some with same hardware and manpower only by providing training and modifying systems. Thereby, in 2016, their production was 4 million units. Now it is around 10 million in 2022 with the same facilities. Following the responses, it is noted that almost half of the sample companies have in-house training facilities. Unfortunately, some of these provide training based on compliance, safety measures, health hazards, core electrical or mechanical skills, grievance handling, and on other soft skills, but not factory skill-based training. Therefore, it can be inferred that in-house training related to factory automation or to new technologies are few and far between. Findings and discussion, management of human factors and its relationship with compliance. Most of the managers are positive towards human factor management and have a preventive mindset. Providing training for new skills before this displacement related human factor happens, reskilling or upskilling the vulnerable workers, psychological counseling, modifying behavioral patterns, and providing them with golden handshake benefits. Very few of the respondents poise themselves at the two extremes. Compliance is the only drive for human factors, and compliance is not the driver at all. But majority of the respondents fall somewhere between these extremes. In the early days of Bangladeshi garment industry, there was no concept of compliance or human factor whatsoever. Tajrin Garments in 2011 and Rana Plaza in 2013. Catastrophes changed everything. After these disasters, the international RMG buyers got intensively serious regarding social compliance and audit. This changed the whole context of human factor consideration, working environment, and employee welfare. International buyers sent social audit inspection team to the respective garments to find out the ground reality. The future order volume and types of order depends on the scores on the social audit. Trying to convey the magnitude of the international buyers' pressure, one of the respondents mentioned, minimum compliance is set by law of the land and actual compliance is set by the international buyers. Here comes my conclusion part. My first hypothesis was increasing automation do not seem to cause loss of employment in the aggregate. The facts are Bangladeshi RMG management believes that automation will decrease job in an escalated level to start with. In the long run, automation will expand the RMG industry and other related job opportunities. Most of the factories are keen to train or reinstate laborers in alternative capacities, and displaced workers can be adjusted in the factories where backdated technologies will still be used. So I can say that my first hypothesis is got accepted. Number two hypothesis was, due to automation, low-skilled workers in routine jobs are more likely to suffer job losses. The facts are, Bangladesh RMG owners' automation choice revolves around the motivation of saving cost per production and cost per minute, more concerned about the financial consideration. Repetitive routine tasks are easier to be automated, where machine can follow a simple given algorithm. Low-skilled workers are engaged with such tasks. They do not have the capability to learn new skills easily due to their education level. So I can say that my second hypothesis also got accepted. Number three hypothesis. Training is considered as a vital factor of automation success and conducted by respective organization. And the facts are, management inconvenes regarding the importance of training facilities. Majority of the owners are not comfortable with the training related investments. Bangladeshi RMG factories with high revenue do not have in-house training facilities. They are dependent on erection team, third-party training firm, and NGOs. Most of the in-house training centers are focused on non-factory skill development. So my hypothesis 3 is got rejected. And number 4, consideration of human factors by the management are pushed by compliance pressure from the international buyer, not by humanitarian considerations. The facts are, Bangladeshi RMG industry has a history of worker abuse, discrediting human factors, and non-compliance. Idea of compliance came to scene after labor law 2006. Factories became sincere regarding compliance and human factors due to the pressure from international buyers after Tajin Garments and Rana Plaza accidents. International buyers reduce or cancel order responding to a low social audit score. Rarely, organizations put the idea of humanity or morality before economic reality. So I can say that my number 4 hypothesis is got accepted. like all the research, all the studies, my study has also some limitations. This study has considered a few green garments, some above average and some average garments. Nonetheless, conducting further research segregating all those levels of garments might offer fresh insights. The following parties will derive operational research-oriented and policy issue-related benefits. Number one, management of the Bangladesh R&D factories, then academics, the related business association, and after that, regulators. I have visited some factories, and these are the Jacquard machine. And that's all of my presentation. Thank you so much. I have conclude all my things and cut it very short because of time limitation.
Thank
You
you.
are free to ask any question. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Wonderful research work. Good to see your research work. Please share your details. We'll collaborate.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so my name is Dineshwari Narajan, and I'm going to present on the tax evasion attitude towards, the influence of ethical attitude towards tax evasion in Malaysia. So let's see the first introduction. Tax evasion has been one of the main source of income in many countries of all around the world. But the main problem here is the citizens are obligating to pay tax for the income earned if it is derived by the respective countries. So in Malaysia, what we have problems that a lot of people are comparing with their labor force, and they have a reason, they have why they are doing that tax evasion. So many reasons contributing to the happening of tax evasion in the country, and among them, this is an ethical issue of the taxpayer. So therefore, we have some research that we have done here. People who earn sufficient amount or sufficient income would qualify them to pay their income tax, commit tax evasion by purposely avoiding paying tax. So tax evasion is also a vital as a growth of economic growth in the country. So basically in every countries, they have tax evasion. So tax evasion should be reduced so that the economy can be growing in a faster mode. So that is my introduction. So here is my literature. So I will go a bit quick because as what coordinator said, we will have to go a bit. So on the introduction part, the tax evasion, let me explain, because there is two types of tax details. So tax evasion is completely different from tax avoidance according to Lopez. So as he argued, the tax avoidance is legal, while tax evasion is illegal, since legal action can be taken against the taxpayer who commit it. E2017 in Malaysia indicate that tax evasion trend in the country is increasing from a year of 2012, as many Malaysians are said to avoid complying with the tax regulation. So the next one that we are going to see is on the tax efficient. Oh, sorry. The next one that we are going to see is the ethical behavior. So tax obligation, which indicates that tax evasion is mostly performed by the individual who believe tax evasion is a not non-ethical behavior. Hence, it is not wrong to be done. Next will be the E2017 tax evasion behavior carried out in Malaysia has concluded that taxpayer morality, which is significantly contributing to perspection of tax evasion. Next will be tax rate. Tax rate is actually, we are comparing between two things. Tax rate and tax evasion also suggested the same outcome, where it indicates that tax rate has a significant positive relationship with tax evasion. Malaysian taxpayer perspection of tax evasion is significant, influencing the tax rate imposed by the country. And the withholding position. Tax evasion actually gives an inverse relationship to withholding position, where it says that taxpayers are more on the tax paying has refund the less to tend to practice tax evasion. So withholding position and tax evasion has been studied by WIT 1993, where individuals with taxpayer in the position of tax due more likely to commit tax evasion, which indicates a strong positive relationship. So the last independent variable that I'm using here is Pearson or peer influence. So peer influence is said to have a positive significant relationship with tax evasion, as a model has indicated that more moral obligation through the peer influence has a significant impact on the tax non-compliance. The relationship between the tax influence and tax evasion can be supported by another study conducted by High 2011. So these are all my literature review. Then let me explain about the methodology part. So in the methodology, actually, we have done a primary data analysis by using a survey which have uses of quantitative methods. So over here, we have collected data who has registered to taxpayer under LDHN, which is known as Inland Revenue Board, which is IBR. Okay, so we have collected 200 set of data, and we started with reliability pilot study questionnaire by using the Likert scale. So this is my framework. Tax evasion is the independent variable, and the other four will be the independent variable that I have discussed earlier. This is my hypothesis. So by looking into the hypothesis, my interest is on how the relationship between the ethical behavior and tax evasion, tax rate and tax evasion, withholding position with tax evasion, and finally, we are going to find the relationship between peer influence and tax evasion. So here is my result. So this is my first result, which is known as reliability analysis. I have done reliability analysis to check whether all the data are reliable to be used or not, all the variables that we are using. So as an outcome, there is 0.880, which indicates there is reliability among the data. So it is suited for the further analysis since it is lesser than 0.7. So the next one that I have done is on the outlier identification. Outlier identification here to check whether the data is normally distributed or not. And we have found that 4 data has been rejected because it is not in the box. So after removing the 4, we are having a normally distributed data where we have first one, which is showing the outlier. The second one, there is no outlier. So to double check whether we have done the correct one or not, we did Z-score. So under the Z-score descriptive data, it shows that the value is negative 1.56, which is between negative 3.29 to positive 3.29, and it considers the data is normally distributed because it's within the range. The next is on the linearity test. So among all the 5 linearity here, we can see that all of them are having a linear relationship, where it has plotting all the values to one variables, X and Y variables, and it has a linearity. It proves that there is a linearity among the data. Next is on the correlation analysis. Okay, under correlation analysis, the interesting thing that we are going to see here is all the variables that we are using here is actually having a significant variable. So over here, we can see that all of them are less than 0.05, and it has significant variable, significant relationship basically. And if you can see here, ethical behavior gives highest coefficient. Yeah, highest Pearson coefficient among all the other 4 variables, and this says that ethical behavior influence more compared to the other one. Next will be on the regression analysis. So under regression analysis, we have all the data given here. The first table shows ethical belief and tax evasion, the R-square, the everything. So under R-square part here, it shows that it has 0.278, and which is known as 27.8% of the total variation of the independent variable is explained by the dependent variable. So next on the significant value. So this significant value shows that it is actually less than 0.05. So this indicates that the study is valid and we can proceed with it. So on the regression analysis, the final one that we are going to see is on the coefficient table of regression. So over here, first thing, let us check whether all the independent variables are standing by themselves or not. So over here, we have found that the VIF, which is variance of factor, so it shows that all of them are less than 10, which is known as no multicollinearity among all the data. So this is the first step. Then we look into the significant value. So overall, the significant value, this is the only one, which is ethical belief, is the only one have 5% significant value, whereas these two, which is tax rate and peer influence, have 10% of significant rate. So the only one that is not supporting is withholding position, where it has been rejected from the model. So from here, we can actually find the coefficient of the influences. So here it's also showing that ethical belief actually gives the better or gives more impact on the model, whereas the others are very minimal, but they have positive relationship, and withhold position have negative relationship, as what we have discussed earlier. So the other part is the equation. So I have come up with the model where we have constant ethical belief, tax rate, and peer influence. So based on this, we have actually removed all the insignificant variables, and we are just only using significant variable to do the analysis. Continue to the conclusion part. So conclusion part here, it shows that there are only 3 variables that are significantly impacting the tax evasion in this study, which is ethical belief, tax rate, and peer influences. It is also improving the ethical belief of a person through conducting activities such as awareness camp could contribute to the reduction of tax evasion being committed. Important for government to understand the factor contributing to tax evasion, because tax evasion from taxpayer are one of the most important revenue for the government to prepare the budget of the countries. Hence, it would be better if they can maximize the tax collection. And the other 2 things that I want to talk about is the implication and the contribution. So the implication in these factors from contributing to tax evasion, so that the tax revenue of the country can be maximized. First of all, contribution would be by this study, we can actually give a beneficial for the use of Inner Land Revenue Board, which is a regulatory board body responsible for the collection of income tax in Malaysia. So basically, my conclusion is we need to give awareness to the people, telling that tax evasion is not appropriate. We need some income, and then it also can give economic growth to the country. So that is my finding from here, and these are all my references that I have done. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much, everyone, and welcome to my presentation. My name is Iman Momeni. I am one of the co-authors of this paper, the literature review about the prospect theory of management fraud, incentive in financial reporting. I am an assistant professor accounting in Northern State University, South Dakota, USA. Hope we can use our time properly. So in this literature review, I'm going to quickly review these sections. So our presentation, my presentation outline will be introduction, methodology. I'm going to present the fundamental questions about risk and fraud risk investigation. Then we are going to consider the relationship of the risk theories and fraud risk explanation. Then we are going to take a look at some historical development of risk theory and their application of the CPT, cumulative prospect theory. And then we are going to have our conclusion. So in this regard, the research has a root in the concept of separation between ownership and management in public sector, basically, and in the security market, when the ownership and management are separate from each other. In this regard, in finance and accounting, we have this concept of agency theory and the conflict of interest, which will be resulted for the owners to seek to monitor the management in several ways. And the management will seek different ways to basically follow in their own interest. And fraudulent financial statements are basically the methods that will be happening in regard with the risk theory toward the conflict of interest and those elements that will be rooted in the agency theory. So as far as introduction, in this paper, we're not going to present the new hypothesis or do the empirical research question. Instead, we're going to attempt to review different theories that are about the fraud incentive and particularly the particular type of fraud, which is fraudulent financial reporting, and try to elaborate the risk seeking and risk aversion point of view from management perspective. Then by focusing on the most leading theories to explain fraudulent financial statement theories, we are basically going to ask our main question of this research paper based on our literature review about the capability and thoroughness of the leading method on explaining the fraud theory based on cumulative prospect theory. Now, as far as our methodology, we are focusing on two basic theories, prospect theory and the cumulative prospect theory. The prospect theory is a theory that is trying to explain the individual behavior as far as when they basically have the manner, asymmetric manner of their prospects in gain and loss. And that was introduced by Tversky and Kahneman in 1979. And the same basically scientists introduced CPT, cumulative prospect theory, by including the risk and uncertainty in that model. The main observation of CPT, cumulative prospect theory, is that there will be the possible outcome usually relative to a certain, what they call it, reference point. That is basically sometimes what they call it a status quo rather than the final status. So the difference between CPT and the prospect theory itself is the application of the uncertainty and the risk, and what we call it the reference point and different risk behaviors of individual when it comes to this fraud situation. Our main focus was on the issue that was presented by Funk 2015, that empirical study that studied the relationship between CPT and fraud risk simultaneously. And he believed and concluded that CBT may explain the manager's fraud incentive. Now, in this research, in this paper, based on the literature review, we are going to challenge this idea about the capability of CPT on determining and explaining the fraud risk theory. Now, our specific structure for this study following those previous studies in this regard will be like this. So we will follow 5 steps. In step 1, we will answer 2 basic questions: why it is risky to commit fraud, why
why is the fraud risk investigation important? Second step, we are going to consider the relationship between theories that explain fraud risk. That there is where we consider Fong 2015 details about this study. Then we are going to research. We are going to introduce our first primary question in this regard. And then in the third step, we are going to examine the historical development, and we are going to divide our literature review to CPT literature review and fraud literature review. Then we are going to ask a question about the application of that fraud risk theory to explain CPT. And at our final step, at fifth step, we are going to conclude and basically recommend about the application of fraud risk theory and CPT in this paper. So to answer the first basic questions about why it is risky to commit the fraud and why the fraud risk investigation is important, we need to know that the committing fraud will have the effect on reputation. Shareholders will complain, lawsuit will come out, fines, even jails, and they will have adverse effect on the stock price. For the investigation value, we can refer to Association of Certified Fraud Examiner. Their last report on 2022, they analyzed 2,110 real occupational fraud cases in 133 countries in 23 industry. They ended up that losses from fraud can ended up to $3.6 billion, and financial reporting fraud was the least common and the most costly of them, as far as the loss, with the median loss of 593,000. So that is the brief explanation, answers to why those elements are important basically to focus on. On the second step, can fraud risk be?
You have 3 minutes left for 10 minutes. Please,
okay.
Yeah, just wanted to remind you about the timings.
Okay, 3 minutes, okay. So then in second step, we have analyzed the Fong results here, and we continued. I will just go ahead and I will continue on the third step that we had reviewed the CPT literature review on two prospect theory essence and properties and application of those. We have 110 listed literature review there in fraud literature in 7 different categories. And we ended up to the last step. I wanna focus on the last step and see that our recommendation. So application of CPT, explanation of the management incentive, we concluded 3 major conclusions, 3 major points. One is because utility function differ from person to person and they are impacted by a variety of factors. Risk-taking and risk avoidance are individual phenomena. That's why under risk conditions, different personality with different values and anti-values show different patterns. So that's why we need to consider that CPT analysis by cultures and different environments. That's different. Second point is that in the CPT model, there is a benchmark as reference point. And again, the people can measure those actions, and the index has been ROA or different monetary elements in the researches. However, we can use other indexes and elements as a reference point, and that can be different, and that can be considered when we are using cumulative prospect theory in that part of application of that fraud risk. Sometimes financial indicators may not hold a significant influence, and non-financial indexes may have better option. And lastly, it worth mentioning that manager may or may not have an index in their mind, and other elements like having stronger or weaker influence as manager incentive may have the effect on their commitment of their fraud, such as political factors, social factors, cultural factors, and so forth. So in such a case, a CPT may be unable to explain management decision-making processes. So the whole point is that the most capable model of our CPT analysis to explain fraud can be unable to be applied in some areas of application. That's our main conclusion here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I hope the screen is visible to everyone. Hello.
Go ahead, go ahead,
Yeah.
go ahead.
All right. So, hello, everyone. I'm presenting on forensic medicine and evolution, a new age pursuit to criminal justice. Now, as we talk about forensic medicine, criminal justice system is an area which needs a very good expertise, be it forensic data collection or the trial in itself. It cannot be negated that the obligation of providing justice to the victim is very important and an essential part of the entire setup that is maintained by the Constitution. Now, when we are talking about forensic medicines, it is a branch which needs the requisite extension of the expertise, which is going to hold the significant pursuit of justice. Science of identification of hair, of fingerprinting, collection, toxicological reports, and yet again different kinds of or forms of evidences that manage to provide premises that may ultimately lead to conviction, and which is why it is necessary that experts should understand the importance of professions as a part of the process. This entire process involves the application of science, how the science is applied to law, and it is not limited to any kind of group of specialists. But even when we're talking about this medicine, it is not limited just to the particular experts. It has evolved with technology, with the different mechanisms that we have, and it has now been conducted by the computers, and they have been managed to eliminate the possibility of human errors. Talking about the evolution of forensic medicine, the practice of conventional form of medico-forensics, it has been observed from contemporary criminal justice system. Right from talking about Greek period, the emergence of medicine as an intrinsic element of society was discovered, and considered the fact that the medicine always has a close association to law. There are records which has been found in the law of code, that of Hammurabi's code from the king of Babylonian laws dating from 2900 BC, that actually discusses the obligations of the medical practitioners. As far as our country is concerned, that is, as far as India is concerned, the Kautilya's Arthashastra has detailed list of different forms of unnatural deaths, and he has suggested different forms of how the evidence can be collected, how the unnatural death can be ensured, what is going to the mode for the unnatural death, which is managed to inspire the study of medical jurisprudence. He has also suggested that how the autopsy of the dead body can be done. His process comprises of rubbing the body with the oil, which eventually reflects the bruises or the swelling that would be the direct result from any form of the body, which has been harm inflicted on the victim. And it could eventually reflect the real cause of the death in such cases. As far as Vedas is concerned, they have provided a background for the medical legal examination. As far as there is a special draft, a specific draft for the medical jurisprudence in Surastra Samhita. Later on, with 1693, Dr. Edward Bulkley, he said first time he did a proper autopsy in India, and later on with the introduction of the Indian Penal Code in India and medical colleges, the jurisprudence has evolved with the different kinds of practices that can be conducted. For example, medical literature analysis and retrieval system helps in securing wider access to biomedical information, and these services are accessible to all. Similarly, there are various different kinds of such libraries and such literature analysis through which the biomedical information can be made accessible to people. Nowadays, with artificial intelligence, there are researches which is leading to the introduction of technology and recognizing the different kind of strategies that can be imbibed. These elements, if we are talking about, these include sex determination, biological age estimation, 3D cephalometric land annotation, growth vector prediction, facial soft tissue estimation from the sulc, and vice versa. In fact, it has been estimated that the introduction of various networks in the forensic medicines can enhance the speedy resolution of cases. These expert systems have provided a way more worthy than human participation. Nonetheless, if we talk about human participation, it is always an integral part when it comes to investigation in any country. Now talking about the various laws that are there with respect to the or law enforcement agencies in India. India has a very large interaction or long interaction when it comes to the enforcement. The Central Fingerprint Bureau of India, dating back in 1897, it is now we are slowly moving towards the concept of capacity building and ensuring that nearly all the states have such forensic laboratories which is going to specialize in the particular area. We have fingerprinting bureau, we have toxicological laboratories, we have health departments, which has been built up especially with respect to the collection of the medical legal cases, so that the evidence can be collected easily. The nation has moved from the traditional concept and focusing on the DNA reports, which is now established a different which we have now established a different kinds of various laboratories, like we have for DNA fingerprinting and diagnostics, that is CDFD. This branch falls under the Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India. Now it belongs to the CSIR CGMB, which is the center for the cellular and molecular biology, which helps the judiciary to make them aware about the new advents of technology. Now, as we can see, the different kinds of forensic laboratories in India, they are helping, or the with respect to the advent of the so many forensic science laboratories, they have started imbibing so many it has started helping the judiciary so as to resolve the various cases. Not only this, it is also helping the investigation, and it is helping personals to have a good strategy with respect to the cases, cases, especially with special reference to homicides, or with respect to murder, or with respect to acid attacks, etc. The situation in India. So when concluding with what is there with the forensic medicine, as far as India is concerned, we need good forensic experts with respect to the medical forensics. Now, it's not only that the person should be a good professional or a good practitioner, but the person also needs to be a good expert in the computers. As far as the forensic Central Forensic Science Laboratory in Kolkata, which is it emphasizes that that the process, there must be a proper process of DNA profiling, okay, which was done in 1985. Okay. Again, when we are talking about the assistant director, Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Gupta, he said that usually what happens that the evidence tends to get destroyed or ignored because there might be certain delay in the collection, right? Might be delay in the collection with respect to the crime scene, or this might actually delay the investigation, and it might degrade the quality of the investigation. The nation is constantly striving for technical advancements in this area, and it will help in solving the issues of lack of workforce, but an effort to look into the acceptance of these forms of advancements by the judiciary is also something that needs to be worked out. The admissibility, now that is one of the important aspects when we are talking about the admissibility of such forms of evidence. They are being observed as significant pace, because it is very important that we are forensic, or when we're talking about the forensic medicines, we are still struggling to understand how it can be made admissible. But the dynamism of the judiciary is essential for the civilized nation, and if it stops evolving, it would impair the legal setup, and it would fail to address the concern of the society. As Justice Markande Katju clearly said, every institution is really the personal manning to it. The High Court is not really a beautiful building or a beautiful lawn, but the judges who man the institute, which means that the judges of any country, it's not only one country where that we are talking about, the judges of any country should be ready to imbibe, or should be dynamic enough to include the include such kind of or different kinds of evidentiary or different kinds of forms of evidences that can be inculcated. Therefore, there should be people of repute and integrity so as to, along with the legal knowledge that they have inculcated. Last but not the least, all I would like to say is that it is very important that it is very important for the judiciary to accept the different kinds of evidences that are existing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation. Nice topic indeed.